Europe for several years, and I think the second in the world. So I've told you that the slides are not mine; they are from a source. So I don't want to be accused of plagiarism at the end of the work. Now, my name is Viscount Bibwe, often pronounced as Viscount, but the name is Viscount.
Oh,
when you say Viscount, it sounds sexy. So say Viscount.
Viscount.
Yes, it sounds romantic. I want it to be called Viscount. Okay, let's go on. Introduction.
Maybe can you put presentation in slide mode? In presentation mode,
yes,
so that
yes.
they can read better.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Then purpose of the tutorial. Probably I need to also say that I labor at the University of Education, Winneba, as the university librarian. And so I'm using their time to reach you. I guess teaching you is like teaching part of our students here, because your students will also contribute towards the development of our.
We have hit 100 participants. Congratulations to all of you. I think Mr. Viscount is off. I think he must be having some technical challenges. Let's wait for him in 1 or 2 minutes. I'm sure he will get back. Please, can we call him?
Can you hear me? I'm having some hitches here.
We can hear you. We can hear you now.
Okay. Okay. So then I will explain what.
But we cannot see the presentation again.
Oh my goodness. Yes, light.
All right, it's clear now.
Okay, all right, okay. Okay, so I will look at the meaning of plagiarism, then differences between collaboration and collusion, and how to improve academic writing so that we are able to express ourselves confidently in our writing using our own words and not anybody's words at all. Okay. Then objectives. By taking this tutorial, one will be able to demonstrate an understanding of plagiarism and how it can occur intentionally or unintentionally in academic work. We'll also see the difference between collaboration and collusion. We'll know how to quote, paraphrase, summarize other people's words correctly, and then identify ways of avoiding plagiarism through using appropriate note-taking and time management. Lastly, we'll describe consequences of using unfair means in assessment. Okay. Now, introduction. We'll look at definitions of plagiarism, self-plagiarism, and collusion, and then we'll look at how to avoid it and adapt best practices in study skills and referencing. Okay. The Oxford Dictionary defines plagiarism as, quote, the action or practice of taking someone else's work, idea, etc., and passing it off as one's own, literally theft. What it means that if you use anybody's work and you pretend the work is yours by not crediting the source, that means you have plagiarized. Work here means written work. It could mean even oral work. It could mean images, etc., etc. Okay. A particular idea or piece of writing or design, etc., which has been plagiarized, an act or product of what? Plagiarism. Now, the American Psychological Association 2020 defines it simply as plagiarism. Quote, plagiarism is the act of presenting the words, ideas, or images of another as your own. So you see that it's just like the one given by the dictionary. So this one is from American Psychological Association, page 254. Then, definition of plagiarism. This one is very, very comprehensive. From University of Sheffield, 2013. It said, plagiarism, either intentional or unintentional, is the using of ideas or work of another person, including experts and fellow or former students, and submitting them as your own. It means if you use somebody's work, if you're a lecturer, you use even your students' work or your colleagues' work and present as your own, then you fall foul of the plagiarism. In the same way, a student cannot use his fellow student's own or a former student's own, what we call grandfather. We don't do that. If you do that, it means you have what? Plagiarized. It is considered dishonest and unprofessional. Plagiarism may take the form of what? Cutting and pasting, which some of us do, taking or closely paraphrasing ideas, passages, sections, sentences, paragraphs, drawings, graphs, and other graphical material from books, articles, internet sites, or any other source, and submitted them for assessment without appropriate acknowledgements. So from the Sheffield University, this is a definition of what? Plagiarism. Their definition is very, very comprehensive. And I will urge you to look at it critically and then go by that, because it's very, very embracing. It tells about images, words, etc., etc., that are not yours. You have to acknowledge them. Then plagiarism, the basic principle on aligning the preparation of any piece of work, of any piece of academic work, is that the work submitted must be your original work. In addition to the examples given above, work can be defined as data, statistics, tables, calculations, pictures, diagrams, charts, plans, maps, computerized data, computerized printout, ideas gained through group work, an essay or a poem layout. So this is the definition of what? Work by Sheffield University. See, that is comprehensive. So if you are doing a work and you take somebody's picture from a work that the person has done, you have to credit the source. If you look critically, BBC and other international bodies, when they show some images, you say that the image, the footage will come, Getty Images, showing that they did not take the images themselves, but they got it from Getty, which is a company. No, so it is still plagiarism, whether you intended to plagiarize or not. Ignorance of the law, ignorance is no excuse, is no defense. So you cannot say that, oh, I didn't know it's plagiarism, and I did it. So you must know that what plagiarism is as a student, so that we avoid it. Because when you are caught, you could still be punished. Honestly speaking, if you plagiarize out of ignorance, your professor or your lecturer will know, and the punishment that the university will prescribe for you may be not be as the one that intentionally plagiarized. Forms of plagiarism. 1, copying from published or unpublished sources without giving due acknowledgement, whether intentionally or otherwise. So if you copy from sources and you don't give credit to the person who put the work there, whether intentionally or not intentionally, it means you have what? Plagiarize. So this should guide us that in our essays that we write, our 10 papers, and even when we are teaching, and then we come out with some ideas, we need to acknowledge what? The source, that this idea is not mine. There was a time there was an issue in Ghana, and then some professors made comments on them. And then the comments that they made were not their ideas, but ideas from two other professors. That was about these Gandhi statues at the University of Ghana, where they will tell you Gandhi was a racist. Gandhi was that, blah, 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 blah. The idea was done by two authors in South Africa, Desai and Vahid, 2015. So it was expected as persons in academia, since they did not do this work, all that they will have to say is that, oh, according to these writers in these books, so and so, Gandhi was like that, Gandhi was like this. But they spoke to us as if they did their own research and they know primary research and they came out with that. These are the things that we have to avoid in our writing. I keep telling students that if they listen carefully to Kwekubako, anytime he speaks, he comes out with some facts, he will quickly tell you the source. This is how university students or people in academia must behave. They can't have a saying that Utu Mira, watch the here. I guess my account is right. Okay. Paraphrasing from another source without correct acknowledgement and reference. At times we will paraphrase the work all right. We acknowledge, we paraphrase the all right, but we don't provide acknowledgement and then reference. This creates an impression that is our work, and this constitutes what? Plagiarism. So paraphrasing or summary should be in your own words to demonstrate your understanding of the original work. Laundering of other people's work, in other words, slightly altering or paraphrasing the original so that it appears as if it is yours, is called what? It's also what? Plagiarism. It's also called patch writing, where you change words in a paragraph or a sentence to make it appear as what? Your own. It's also a form of what? Plagiarism. Then submitting someone's work as your own, including the purchase of essays from crib sheets. This is an extremely serious offense, as there is a clear intent to deceive the examiner. A university may take an extremely serious view of any student who offers to sell, or passes on their own assessed work to other students. This is very common in our country. This is very, very common. Students are given assignment and then they will get somebody's work that has been done previously and then they will resubmit. Or they can employ somebody to write their work for them. The thesis and dissertations, I'm told people are available who will receive money and then they do this. These are all forms of plagiarism, which we must avoid in our lives. Double submission, self-plagiarism, is resubmitting work that has been done before on one or more occasions without proper acknowledgement. This may take the form of copying either the whole piece of work or part of it. Normally, credit will already have been given for this work. Okay. What they are saying is that self-plagiarism is that you've done a work before and you are doing another work. What you are doing today is similar to what you've done before. You have to, if you're a student, for instance, you need to discuss this with your professor or your lecturer, I've done this work before, and I want to use information from this to I want to build it up to make this assignment. When the permission is given to you, in your work, you must state. You don't go about quoting yourself, so and so and so and so. No, you just say, according to APA 2020, you just say that as I've previously discussed in an earlier publication or in an earlier assignment, so and so, then you bring. You don't quote yourself, but you paraphrase and you show that this work has already been done before. In the same way, if you there is a conference, and then you present the paper, the conference paper is a conference paper. It means it's a article that is not complete. So later on, you may try to develop it into an article, journal article. You must make this known to the publisher, the journal, that you have already submitted this work as a conference paper, and you want to make it as a journal article. Once you do this and they agree, then you are cleared. But if you don't do this and you go about to submit this as another work, it means you have plagiarized. If I did a work in 2019, or let me say in 2019, in 2012, I did a work in which, in my presentation, I made some arguments that there was in the literature. They said university librarians should be taught how to teach whilst they are in school. Why do I being trained as librarians? And I disagreed with what you call it, that proposition. And I came up with my own idea and I debunked it. That no, teaching is a profession. Librarianship is a profession. There are some people who would like to be librarians, but they would not like to be teachers. Therefore, if you bring the two together, teaching and then librarianship together, you train them within a year or two, what the end product will be that you have half-baked teacher, half-baked librarian. So the VAR media to this is that let the people do a course in librarianship. If they think they want to be teachers, they can do postgraduate diploma or certificate in teaching, then they become teachers. This has been published. If today I'm doing another work and I want to use the same ideas, then I have to cite myself, say where 2012. If I don't do that, it means I have plagiarized. But interestingly enough, APA 2020 is saying that if the information from the previous one is just very scanty, then you can just cite it without even without crediting yourself. Okay. Then making up non-existent references or fictitious experiment data is fabrication, and it's regarded as fraudulent and dishonest. There are some people, they go to they be given an assignment and they will conjure non-existent references, articles that they didn't read. They will say they will create their own article, their own journal, and then cite from them, and then they present. Many years back, I was making a presentation, and then somebody got up and said, "Oh, when they were in school, that was what he was doing. He would do this," and then lecturers didn't know, until one of his colleagues went and told them that this is what this guy was doing, and he was punished for that. So we must avoid that. I was in court some time ago, not as a litigant, just to listen. Then the lawyers were making arguments, citing cases. What the judge said is that, look, let me take your citations well, because some of you could come to court and fabricate references. authorities. And then when he goes to search for them, he will not go out, get them. So these are the things that we have to avoid as students. If you grow up with this, it follows you wherever you go, and even in your work, you will not be honest. In the US, if you're a lawyer, if you're a law student, and then you plagiarize, that is your end. You can never become a lawyer in the US.
You see?
Then what is collusion? Collusion is a form of plagiarism where two or more people work together to produce a piece of work, or all or part of which is then submitted by each of them as their own individual work, according to the Oxford English Dictionary. So you have been given assignments, student A and student B and C, they met, group studies. Then they produce the work. Then each of them produce the work as their own. If you do that, it means you have what? Committed offense of what? Collusion. All that you have to do as students, that you make discussions, you take your points, and then you write your essay independently. Asking someone else to compose the whole or part of any piece of work, of your work, is also collusion. You are doing the work, you said, my introduction is not good. My abstract is not good. Johnny, could you help me? Or Comfort, could you help me? And Comfort or Johnny does this thing for you. It means you have colluded. There is another form of plagiarism, which is in the university, involving class captains or class leaders, as they may be called. They are tasked to collect assignments from their colleagues. And those who are smart, they know the smart ones among them. After collecting the assignments, they just look at their work. Those who are good, and then they just copy, and then they will present as what? Their own. Eventually, they may end up getting very good class. But in reality, they do not merit such class. They just copy. In very good universities, students are not allowed to collect assignments from their fellow students. What is done is that when you finish your work, you submit your work to your departmental secretary, and then receipt is issued to you. You are allowed, as student, to, when you finish your work, give it to your friend to go through. It's allowed, but not to copy. And the final submission, you submit it to your departmental secretary, but not through not to your class captain. Okay. Then copying the whole or part of someone else's work with their knowledge and consent. There are some supervisors, when they are supervising some people's work, they say, oh, I've done this while in my thesis, so and so, and they pass it on to them. Oh, you can copy this. Somebody has written his essay, is given to somebody, copy this. This is a form of collusion. In the US, there was a case of a professor who supervised somebody's PhD. And then he made certain things from his own thesis available to the students. And he graduated as a PhD holder. 2 years later, it was discovered, and his PhD was taken away from him. So these are some of the things that we need to take into consideration when we are supervising students. Yours is to make the students have the information. The students must write the information in their own language and then credit the source. Allowing another student to copy your work, knowing that it will be presented as the student's own, is a form of what? Collusion. Working with one or more students on an assignment together, you produce an agreed piece of work and then copy it for each individual submission. You need to be very clear from your lecturer on acceptable limit of any group work and what? Collaboration. So You'll be given an assignment. The group work is encouraged. Then you've all met, and then you produce the work. You must produce the work as an assignment, as a group work. Then you send to your lecturer. But if you produce the work as individuals, although the work was collectively done, then it means it's what? Collusion. And then you must be punished for that. So what if group work, for instance, what some people do, you do introduction, somebody will do, say, the abstract, another person will do some part of the main essay, somebody will do, what do you call it, conclusion, somebody will prepare the references, somebody will do the literature. That's it. Then you all come together so that you all own the work. And if you own the work, it means none of you can go and publish this work as their own. It must be collectively what? Published. If you are a group of 5 and you do the work and then you sneak to get it published in your name, then you have plagiarized. If you become a professor through this, the person has the right to file a complaint against you, and your professorship will be taken away from you. What is not collusion? We've looked at collusion. We're now going to look at what is not collusion. Collusion does not occur where students involved in group work are encouraged to work together to produce a single piece of work as part of the assessment. So when you are asked to do the work together, then it's not what? Collusion. Do it and you present it in the name of the group. Plagiarism and collusion are forms of cheating, like breaches in examination rules, impersonating another candidate, and falsifying data are academic offenses. So plagiarism and collusion are forms of what? Cheating. Group work versus collusion. So how are you supposed to know where group work ends and collusion begins? You are actively encouraged to work together with other students and discuss what you have learned together. Group work allows the sharing of ideas and information to complete a task. So it can be very difficult to be sure you are not what? Colluding. I hope this one is understood. Okay. Group work versus collusion, we continue. To avoid collusion, first you must ensure that each member of the group writes up their own assignment using their own words. So we've had a discussion. For instance, we discuss, say, the factors that led to the defeat of Donald Trump in the 2020 elections. For instance, we have about, say, 10 factors. Each of us will go and put all these factors in their own words. That is what? Group work. That is individual work. But where we all come together and put it in one language, and then we submit as individuals, it means it's what? Collusion.
It's a collusion.
So let be clear where one starts and the other one what ends. Mm-hmm. Do not allow others to copy your work. Allowing your work to be copied makes you just as guilty of plagiarism as the student who does the copying and just as liable to what? Penalty. Mm-hmm. At that time, when you do your work and it's copied, you are aware, and you pretend you're not aware. And then when you are busted, you say, well, I did my work and I put it on my table, I left, blah, 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 and then it has been taken. No. Your work must be kept like your money. Secure. Don't make your work available. If you give it to somebody to read, you are there after reading, and he makes, probably a comment, you take it and that's all. Don't allow anybody to copy your work for you. If you are a student who is good, you may have a friend, be the person male or female. It's your responsibility probably to bring the person up, but not to share your work with the person. If you do that, the two of you may lose your certificates in future. Examples of acceptable collaboration. Discussing both individual and group assessments with other students in the subject and then writing up your own assessment in your own ways is acceptable. You all discuss, then you do the assignment in your own ways. Then referencing group work and results to acknowledge the ways and ideas of what others. So in the work that you present after the discussion, then you must reference them. That with this group A, B, C, if the group has a name, then you must give them that name. Or you must say simply that a group that you belong to, we discuss this, and then they are properly acknowledged. Examples of unacceptable collusion. Engaging in detailed discussion as to written details of another student's assessment. Detailed discussions. If you do that, it means it's collusion, and it's not what acceptable. Then using notes, drafts, or completed assessment prepared by another student or another person without appropriate referencing, it means you have what? Plagiarize, is collusion. Okay? Allowing your work to be copied by another student, we've said it already. If you do that, the person can even be your son, your daughter, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your wife, your husband. If you do that, it means you have fallen foul of what? Plagiarism. Examples of unacceptable collusion. A group has assigned separate tasks to each member, and one member asks another to do their share, and not to tell anyone because the marks are divided in the end based on the quality of the contribution of each. It will be acceptable to work together if you were struggling with the given piece of work. Talk to your supervisor if you are struggling with the given piece of work. Here it's saying, you have been given a group work to do. Each of you, probably the group leader will assign roles to each of you. Then one person says, oh, I cannot do it, you just do it for me. And then after all, in the end, we all get the same marks. The person is aiming to get his first class. He may ignore you and then go about and do this thing and then add your name to it. They are telling us that it is an offense. You don't have to do this. I have this experience when I was schooling in Sheffield. We're given a group work. And there was one guy, anytime we met, he would not be there. So when we finished, there was the proposition or suggestion that we should add his name. Then I objected. I said, no, once he didn't do it, we shouldn't add his name. So I argued that somebody supported me, and then his name was deleted. And then in our submission, we made a point, a note that that guy was never present throughout. What the lecturer told us was that if we had added his name, it would be very wonderful. And that will mean that we plagiarize. Because in all other group assignments given in which that guy was a member, all the groups reported that he wasn't present. How come that in our case alone was present? Not knowing the guy left school and was in it was in Italy working. So these are some of the things that we have to. Integrity is very high. If the person is even your girlfriend or close relative or boyfriend, it is not taking part in the work, get him off. A professor told me of a story that when he was doing his PhD, there were 5 in a class. And then they were given assignments. No, there were 5 in a group. They were given assignments. And then when they finished, the professor, everybody contributed. The professor marked the work, but none of them had the same. Each person had a different mark. They protested. They said, look, I know all of you and what you can write. You wrote this section. Is it not so? Said yes. You analyze. You did this, you did this, you did this. And based upon this is how I mark you. So at times you could do group work, but as you may meet a lecturer, a professor who is very, very, very savvy, will tell you that no, he will not give you equal marks because he will know the contribution that each of you may put into the work. Then group work joins up with another group. You are giving group work. Then one group joins another with the same assessment and agrees to share all the information, which in practice have the group work. One assignment is given to you in a class, probably you have about 4 or 5 group work. Each of you is to do, but group A does part, and then group B also does part, and then you bring them together to be whole. That is also what plagiarism. Then group finds a very good book in the library, which provides them with most of the answers to the problem they are required to answer. This is very interesting. A lot of us are guilty of that. They borrow the book from the library and place requests on it so that no other group can get hold of it before the assessment is due. The book is good, it's only one. So my group, we are say 5. I will go for the group, for the book, and then another person in the group will place an order record that as soon as I finish, it should come to him. He also goes for it. Another person also places an order. So it means some other group will not have access to the book. This is very, very sinful. Those of you who believe in sin, I would say this is an academic sin. You don't have to do that. The book is available, is in the library. Every student should work. So in a group, if you go for the book, you read or take photocopies of the relevant pages. You leave it so that some other people will also do. So we must avoid doing that. Then the member in the group never contributes to the group assessment, knowing that the mark will be the same for every member of the group based on the final product, and other members are working hard to achieve, is also unacceptable. I've heard of a case, the university I will not mention, when the group work was given, there was one person who was rich, had a car, and say, it will tell them, oh, you people should be working. I'm going to find you some food. He will go restaurant and then buy food. Will drink, then he'll bring to them. They eat and work and work. He will not even be there. In the long run, his name will be added. This is a clear case of what? Plagiarism. We must avoid these things in life. That person today is could be a big person somewhere. And one thing that I will tell you, that when people plagiarize as students and they become lecturers or they begin to work, they are never honest in their work. They do a lot of silly things in their work because they lack integrity. So if you avoid plagiarism, you know that if you do this thing is evil, then even in your workplace, you'll be very cautious in all things that you do. You become highly ethical. Drawing guidelines for collaboration. It is beneficial for groups to agree on a clear guidelines for collaboration at the start of the work. So the group leader will have to draw a guideline. This can include keeping of minutes of all meetings. There must be a secretary who will keep the minutes, who is present, what you did, and agreeing on the consequences of it. So you set up a rule. If somebody doesn't come, what do we do to that person? Then in keeping the personal log of research, academic communication, and work completed. So all these things must be kept and must guide you in your group work. You don't just go and then sit down and then do it, but it must be something that should guide you. I wonder if you can see you can enlarge it. Can you enlarge? Okay.
It's not too visible though, but we can read.
Yes, okay. Now we want to find out why students plagiarize. Yes. One, it said they want to get better grade. This is a work done by somebody. At the end of it, I will tell you. Person he said 59% of them said they want to get better grade. Therefore, they what? They plagiarize. Then 54% said laziness or bad time management make them plagiarize. This bad time management, at times the fault is not the students, but the fault is from the lecturers. You give assignment within a week, somebody is giving about 2, 3, 4 assignments to present within a week. Obviously, the person will not be able to do all this. So he had to what? Plagiarize to meet the deadline. The way out is that at the beginning of the semester, the lecturer, you know your what you teach. So beginning, as soon as they register, the assignments should be given to them. Deadlines should be given to the students. Say school reopens, say January. It said 30th March, 2 p.m. Submit your assignments. An assignment must be submitted at the departmental department to the departmental secretary straight away. So if you give them, say January, for instance, in say 2 weeks' time, somebody can present their work. Whether you've taught that topic, that course or not, somebody can present because they are expected to read on their own to do their assignment. So let's help students to plan, manage their time very well by giving them enough time to do the assignment, and this can help them to avoid plagiarism. I'm not saying that if you are giving so many assignments at a given time, go and plagiarize. Please, no, that's not an issue. There's no excuse for that. Then planning. Okay, then easy access to material via the internet. Some people say that they have easy access from the internet. 40% of them. So because of that, they are able to what? To plagiarize. Then 29% said they do not understand the rules of what? Plagiarism. Therefore, they just do things anyhow, and then they are busted as what? Plagiarists. 29%, another 29% said that it happens unconsciously. They don't know that they have what? Plagiarized. Then he said to avoid all these things, when you get a slice, you get to know how to avoid some of these things. There's no we don't have much time, so I didn't want to explain some other things or read other things to you. This is a work done by Newstead, 1996. Individual differences in students cheating. Available on Journal of Educational Psychology. I think this one is even open access, published in 2013. I mean, yes, published in 1996, but it's available. I think it's open access. When you Google, you get the full thing on the internet. So these are some of the reasons why students plagiarize. So additionally, some may also think it's not in the work that their lecturers do not have enough time to find out whether somebody has plagiarized or not. So they will do it. They will also argue that lecturers themselves plagiarize, so they will not take it serious. They don't have the skills to find out whether they have plagiarized. So these are some of the reasons why students would plagiarize. Now, paraphrasing. To write an academic piece of work, you need to consider the topic of your essay or dissertation, read around your subject, and organize your ideas into coherent, concise argument. Additionally, at postgraduate level, you need to demonstrate through literature review how your research builds on and how it has developed from other previous work. Okay. Paraphrasing, you need to reference each of your sources. Every time you include an idea or argument from other reading. So when you paraphrase, the idea is not yours, it's somebody's knowledge that you paraphrase. So you must credit the person. Say, ATU students are smart, according to Akaku V 2020. Provide it. But if I read Akaku V's work 2020, and then he says that the ATU students are smart, then I said ATU students are smart, then I do not credit Akaku V. It means I've plagiarized. And then my lecturer will ask me, how did you get this information? You understand? So the source from where I got it, I must provide it. Okay. Source materials, if you use effectively, will lend credibility and authority to your writing, provide opposing views against which you can comment or align the force of your arguments. You should not include a citation without offering an explanation of how the source supports your conclusion. You don't go about quoting or providing sources when there's no link between that and the work that you are doing. You are doing some work, then you bring something like a quote from, say, Shakespeare, all the world is a stage, all the men and women merely players. They have the exit, their entrances, unquote. Okay, how does this relate to what? The work that you are doing? Or, as I tell my students, just like saying that your wife is bereaved, you lost the father or the mother, then that's the occasion you go and read the person some sweet words. Do you think it can impact on the woman meaningfully? No. She's bereaved, thinking about the father that she has lost. You need to console the person. You need to find soothing ways to make her overcome her grief.
Yeah, 144 now. Sorry. I was connecting it.
So that's it. If you quote, your quote must relate to the idea that you express. Okay. Paraphrasing does not mean just changing a few words, just changing a word here or there, or even sentence or two if the phrasing of the original is evident. The phrase should be a restatement of the meaning of the original word. So when you read, you sit down and you write the idea in your own words. Then you provide the source. Akakovi 2020. Expressing ideas in your own words indicates to your lecturer or your supervisor or the editor that your level of understanding of the original material. Avoid using too many direct quotations in your essay, as it can detract from coherence of your argument. So don't use so many quotations. If you do that, it means you are not even thinking. Just quote. No. Few quotes, you paraphrase some of them, and then you bring your own ideas. When you quote, you don't just quote, but you must express your understanding or your view on the quotation that you express. Expressing ideas in your own words indicates to your lecturer, yes. Paraphrasing blends in more easily with your own line of reasoning. It allows you to express your understanding of another's idea and comment on a particular aspect. So avoid using quotes that have only tenuous link to your work. Yes, as I told you, you don't quote something that has very weak or no relationship with the work that you are doing. You are doing something on, say, mechanics, then you are quoting Shakespeare to support it, which is not acceptable. Okay. Then when to quote rather than paraphrase, okay. So you need to quote the text of any formal definition or standard to ensure the exact meaning is conveyed to your reader. There may be a turn of phrase or expression used that is particularly significant that could not be conveyed by paraphrasing. There are certain words that you cannot paraphrase them. So when you cannot paraphrase them, you just have to put them in quotes to show that they are not what your words. You got them from some other places. They can be just one or two, but still you can just put them in quotes. When to quote rather than paraphrase, there are several ways to integrate quotations in your text. A short quotation works best when it is embedded into sentence areas rather than what long ones. So quotations should be short. If you take this popular saying of Shakespeare, all the world is a stage, all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts. The act being in 7 stages. First, the infant, mewing, and puking, the next. It's long. So what people say is that all the world is a stage, all the men and women merely players. Short. It covers what? Everything. So this is how we have to go about our quotations. Okay. Reporting words. When paraphrasing, you need to summarize the key points of what you have read in your own words in your work. Reporting verbs are useful to evaluate, represent, and write about other authors' work, their claims, findings, conclusions, cases, etc. For example, so you can start like say, John argues that, Akakovi argues that, Cloquet intimates, Cloquet demonstrates. These are the way that we have to go about when we are paraphrasing. Then good and bad paraphrasing. Remember how to paraphrase successfully, and to avoid plagiarism, you must do all 3 of the following. 1, restate the information and ideas from the source, whether print or electronic, accurately. 2, use your own language and style, not the original authors. You can include key phrases from original if you identify those phrases or words or phrases by quotation marks. Okay. Then, so a mere phrase alone can be what? Can be plagiarized work. There was a president of Ghana who addressed UN, and in the speech, the president appealed he talked about the problems of the youth in Africa, where they may start some business because of difficulties. They may even sell the business, poultry farm, maybe their buildings, and then trek through the desert, Sahara Desert, to Europe. Some of them die on the way. And he made an appeal, passionate appeal to the world body to help Africans to do better their lives in Africa. Then he used the same phrase. He said, if they do not, then this was going to be like a scar on the conscience of what? The world body. Scar on the conscience of people is a coinage by Tony Blair of former Prime Minister of what? UK. And the person, our president, was addressing UN. And since that phrase was a coinage from Tony, which was well known, the best thing for the person to have said was, as Tony put it, scar on the conscience of what? The world body. If he did, I think people would have saluted him for doing that. But it went unnoticed. Up to now, I don't think many people know that that person plagiarized. You understand? Okay. Acknowledge the original author, source of the paraphrase material by citing them in the text and including them in your list of references. So you do the acknowledgement in your essay itself, that's in-text citations. Then at the end of the work, you provide what? The references. So if you cite in the course of the work, we call it in-text citation. Then at the end of the work, where in-text citation means the author and then the date of publication, and then if you quote, then the page number from where the quotation was taken. This constitutes in-text what? Citation. Then at the end of the work, the journal or the book in which this information was taken becomes what? Your reference, because you refer to them in your work. Okay, this one I will not let us go through this. It's like an exercise. Time is not on your side, I was told. So skip this. When you get the slide, you can work these things out yourself. What is paraphrase? What is on good paraphrase and what's on good paraphrase? Like, you can do this yourself. There are some exercises here. You go through them. Then effective note taking. Make sure that in your notes, you record details about the material you will need to include in your reference. So when you are doing work, have a notebook, so that whatever article or piece of work that you do, quickly you write everything. Most often, students will come to us librarians and say, I've done this work, and then the lecturer said I should bring the references. So when I was doing, I forgot. And it will become our task to find these things out. I remember many years ago when I was in Kumasi, somebody brought me a certain woman who was doing her MBA at KNUST. She submitted her work and she couldn't provide references to the in-text citations, and the deadline was due. The supervisor said, you should do it. I don't know how she got to know me. Then she came to me that this was her problem. So if I could assist her, they said, how much will I charge her? I said, no, I don't do that. It's unethical. Though you are not our student, but you're a student of another university, I could still help you. Then throughout the night, when I'm sure she was asleep, I did the work for her. I could not only get 2 of the references, and I asked her to delete those things from my work. But later on, I got to know that the work was actually done by somebody for her, and the person didn't take pains to write down where the references were taken from. So you, as a student, please get a dedicated notebook. Once you use the information, write the author, the year of publication, the title of the work, if it's a journal, the journal, and then the publisher, if it's a book. That's all. Now with APA 2020, yes, author, date, title of the book, then publisher. Or if there's an edition statement, then you write the edition statement, say 9th edition. Then you write, say, Pearson. We don't write the place or the city of publication again. APA 2020 has made it so simple. So you just write the publisher, but not the place of publication. Then there's a put quotation marks around any direct quotes or highlight them in different colors, even if it's only 3 or 4 words. So if the book is your own and you have highlighter, then you can highlight them in the book. But if it's a library book, you dare not do that. Then if you even rewrite the words, that even if it's only 3 or 4 words that you've taken and they are not your own, make sure that you write them in a way that you get to know that these are not your own words, so that when you are paraphrasing, you find a way of writing them. Paraphrase correctly, remembering to be precise. Separate out your own ideas. Reflect on what you have read and what it relates to your topic or question. Use abbreviations, in my humble opinion, in the margin. That is in your private work, not in the essay. In my humble opinion, it means your own opinion, so that you don't forget that opinion. As soon as you remember, as if you have an opinion, you write it in my humble opinion as a note. in the margin or highlight them in a different color to be clear that it's your own reflection on what you have read. This one will not do it. It's a very good one. When the slides come, you can go through yourself and then you understand. Yes, there is what we call common knowledge. So common knowledge can be classified as anything that is generally known or knowledge of recent facts or events that has to become so common that it has lost its original pertinence. We said whatever information that we use, we must acknowledge. But there are some information that when we use, there's no need for us to acknowledge. And this kind of information is what we call common knowledge. That Ghana gained independence in 1957, 6 March, is common knowledge. If you write this thing, there's no need for it to be to be cited. That Nkrumah was the first president of Ghana, or he led us to get independence, is common knowledge. There's no need for us to cite. That Shakespeare wrote As You Like It, or Shakespeare wrote Romeo and Juliet, is common knowledge. There's no need for us to cite. However, if you take a quote from Shakespeare, like As You Like It, for instance, if you take a quote from As You Like It, that's one of the books written by Shakespeare. I wish I could remember something from that book. Okay, this maybe what I've told you early on. All the world is a stage, all the men and women merely players. I've taken it from quoted it from Shakespeare. Once I quoted from Shakespeare, then I must provide a source as Shakespeare. You understand? You say Shakespeare in As You Like It. And because it's a quote, I must show the page number or that it is taken from. That is how it is done. Now, if I quote if I say the Constitution of the 4th Republican Constitution of Ghana gives me the right, gives me what you call a freedom of movement, freedom of speech. There's no need for me to provide in the source. What I've mentioned, that the 4th Republican Constitution of Ghana. So anybody who reads or hears me can go and find out. However, if I quote, you understand? If I quote verbatim from the Constitution, then I must provide the source, the page, the article, the clause, and everything that is taken from. I hope this is clear. Okay. Just the same thing like the Bible. The Bible says, don't kill. It's okay. But if I quote verbatim, it means I must provide the source. The Bible said, when you are in need, we should ask or we should find. It's okay. But if I said, I wonder if I can even quote it. You said, ask and shall be given, seek and it shall find, knock and it shall be open. It's a quotation. And therefore, I will tell you, it's Matthew 7:7. I hope I'm right. That is how it is done. So in academic work, this is how we must go about it. Common knowledge, there's no need for us. So when the common knowledge, if the work is recent, like the US elections, now it's common knowledge that
hello, Mr. Viscount.
Hello.
We are enjoying your presentation, but we want to prompt you about our time.
Time, okay. I'll finish with this one.
So.
The last one. Like the UN election is very current. So you cite something like Biden has won an election, for instance, there's no need to provide any source. However, if there is a discussion that is not in open, that you know that there is some other factors that led to his winning this election that is not known, then you must provide the source from where you got that information from to know to support yours. Then, okay, I think I've explained these things already. So that's it. Common knowledge within a discipline is more difficult to determine. If you're in the first year, your common knowledge will be different from somebody who's, if you are in first year, if you are in the first year in a university, reading geography, for instance, your common things that are common knowledge will be different from things that when you are reading PhD, that will become what common knowledge. Okay, each subject has its own rules, and that covers it. So, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to leave on borrowed time. My time is up, and then I will end here by saying that so far I've been able to demonstrate an understanding to you of what plagiarism is and how it occurs intentionally or unintentionally in the work that we do as students or academics. Then also I've been able to demonstrate to you the difference between collaboration and collusion. And then quote, paraphrase, and summarize other people's work, and then identify ways of what avoiding plagiarism through appropriate note taking and what time management. This is a very comprehensive one, and I'll give you the slide. I'm sure there'll be somebody in your university who can have in-person tutorials with you and then take you through